Oh, I didn't see you there. Uh, please take a seat. I didn't know we were starting yet. Just get comfortable while Alright. Why hello there, and welcome to my humble abode. I am a box. What sort of box, you may ask? Well, I am a box full of tabletop game supplies, left behind by whatever person lived here before me. There was something to do with the wizard, casting a spell, granting me sentience, you know, that whole deal. But I owe him some favors. So now I am here to inform you on the ways of Dungeons and or Dragons, and hopefully open your eyes to other games eventually. You know, GURPS, Pathfinder, other editions of D&D, Shadowrun even, that sort of stuff. But to start, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, look at me. I'm a box. How else am I going to do stuff like swing a sword, cast a spell, or talk to a person? These games give me the opportunity to pretend to do things a real person, with real arms may do. No, I am not bitter. Anyway, I thought before I went hard with my spicy takes, I'd go for some low-hanging fruit. Because I don't feel like going out the gate swinging is any way to make friends. And you want to be friends with me, right? I mean, okay. Sitting there, you may ask yourself, why should I listen to you? You're made of cardboard and a box. And to that I say, you shouldn't. Form your own opinions, be your own box. We're human. You know what I mean. At least that's what the wizard told me. But for those of you willing to take my 2 cents on things, well, here you go. My top 5 favorite 5th edition modules. And of course, because they are my favorite, they are the best. They would be even better if they avoided Forgotten Realms, but that's besides the point. I don't want to get into that right now. But I hope I don't have to introduce the concept of Dungeons and Dragons to you, but if I do, well, that'll come at a later date, so keep your pants on. Here we go. Number 5. The 5th edition starter set. Like I said, softballs. But yeah, this is going to be in everyone's top 5 pretty much. It's a good module and a good introduction to 5th edition. It's well paced, has plenty of side content and interesting places and mechanics. Nothing an experienced player or DM will not have seen before, but that's not what a starter set should be. What it is a small town with plenty of places and characters and plenty to do. I've run this once before and played it once before, and I found both times to be enjoyable, though as a player we would have bit fast and loose with the printed material, but that was an experienced group having a bit of fun with it. Run straight from the book, it poses little issue for an inexperienced group, and honestly, I enjoy the conciseness of the included basic rules. The limited spell list is nice, and it helps new wizards not get overwhelmed with choices. The only issues I have with it are thus: the first encounter, Run Raw, can be deadly for unprepared players or DMs. There is a bit of obtuseness following one of the middle chapters into another dungeon, and that just means the DM might need to guide a bit harder than expected and put a few clues earlier. Otherwise, there are few faults with the module, just basic. It sets out to do one thing and succeeds, and sometimes that's all you need. Short and sweet. Number 4. Tyranny of Dragons. Oh yeah, now we're getting to the good stuff. Often lamented as one of the worst modules for 5th edition. The people who say that are sheep, mostly. There are issues with it, but the good parts far outweigh the bad in my opinion. This is actually 2 modules linked together, Hoard of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, though both are lesser run separate from each other. These modules will take you all over the Sword Coast, though not as much as Storm's King's Thunder, and they will have you encountering and dealing with all manner of NPCs and enemies and gameplay styles. To get something out of the way, I believe much of the complaints for this module stem from 2 places: obtuse design and railroading. Well, I will say, as a DM, you'll have to put in so much more work and read the entire module front to back, mark pages and NPC information, keep track of locations, many things that in later modules would be streamlined. For my DMing style though, this fits what I enjoy so much. I mean, 2nd edition is my favorite edition, and 50% of that game is book diving for the right charts to compare against stats. But for some, this is a bit too much. And as for the railroading, this is a bit of an odd issue, as having run this twice, run many other adventures, and played even more, railroading only becomes obvious, as most every module has it, when you're not clear with your players the type of game this is. They need to come prepared to play the PCs that are willing to go on this long, globe-trotting adventure and do things for the right to do them, and not much else. The module is not really prepared to deal with players that want to do something on the side or are unwilling to just bite a plot hook without too many questions. An experienced enough DM can easily handle those sorts of problems and make the game better for it, but this was admittedly not the best module to start 5th edition with. Despite all of this though, I find so much quality in this, especially the reprint. There's something in here for every type of player. Roleplay, clue finding, big combat, sneaking around, and a lot of dragons. Though to all DMs, I recommend that after the first couple of chapters to bump all dragon ages up one step. This book was made before a lot of the 5e power creep became obvious, and even at the start, action economy will destroy a lesser dragon. I love this module, I swear. Just give it a chance. Moving on. Number 3. Ghosts of Saltmarsh / Tales from the Yawning Portal, though mostly the former. I'm bundling these two together because they both serve similar purposes, though Saltmarsh takes the shortcomings of Yawning Portal and mostly eliminates them. These both function as collections of previously published adventures, Yawning Portal taking the best and most classic, while Saltmarsh focuses on a seafaring oceanside theme. As these are classics, all but maybe one of each book's adventures are a hit. Yawning Portals are almost all self-contained dungeon crawls through some of the best printed and most fun dungeons made for Dungeons & Dragons. I love it. But what Saltmarsh has over it is an interconnection. Yawning Portal was not designed to be run as a campaign, and as such, DMs will have a frustrating time doing as such. They work much better as episodic dungeons for a party to have fun through, or to use one or two within a larger homebrew campaign. Saltmarsh was designed with interconnection in mind, so it has the wonderful setting of Saltmarsh in Greyhawk, a nicely detailed town on the coast with plenty going on and a good base of operations. The book also comes with rules for ship combat and controls that I honestly wish would get printed in a new book, perhaps the Dungeon Master's Guide 2, if Wizards of the Coast would ever do that. The adventures in here are from all different editions and sources, from full module printings to Dragon Magazine articles. They fit together better than Yawning Portals ever would, and the book even has places to put the dungeons from Yawning Portal in there. Though, one of the adventures, I believe the 5th chapter, is very old school, and I think some of the design choices from then don't mesh well with 5th edition and lead it to being a weak point in the book. So yeah, if you're looking for some good old dungeon crawls, pick up Yawning Portal, and if you want seafaring campaigns, whether or not to use the adventures, Saltmarsh has the rules for that right in there, plus plenty of fun monsters in both books that you won't see anywhere else. Number 2. Tomb of Annihilation. This and my number 1 could easily be swapped depending on my mood. I've run this adventure twice, and both times I've loved it. The setting of the swampy, sweaty jungles of Chult, with all the monsters and mystery within, is quite compelling. And you could run this adventure 3 or 4 times in a row and not see the same place twice, aside from the introduction and finale, of course. This is the sort of adventure that caters to a specific type of player, though. Someone wanting to do roleplay and intrigue might find themselves frustrated by the constant exploration of the jungles. On the other hand, some people might find it too easy, as a ranger can easily, quote-unquote, ruin the experience for some people by trivializing many of the dangers of the jungle. And not to mention, I had a few encounters myself broken by a wizard, but that was my own fault and partially 5th edition, but I won't mention that if you won't. I've not mentioned before in any of the rankings, but the art as well. Maybe just because of the location, but I love the art of this book, and the flavor. I think the strongest adventures in Dungeons & Dragons come about when they're trying to do a specific type of story. The weaknesses show when they want to do too much and the tone is inconsistent. As for any flaws with this, there are maybe a few. The story element of a timer, get rid of it, throw it out. The pacing and the desire for exploration can be hampered by the players feeling rushed by the countdown, and I found the adventure is far more fun with that removed. The other issue is the final dungeon can be a slog, only to have the final boss be either a joke or impossible depending on the party structure. If you want some Indiana Jones stuff, or Jurassic Park, or really any manner of adventure movie, then this is the adventure for you. Number 1. Curse of Strahd. Duh. Anyone familiar with the adventures of 5th edition could see this one coming. Everyone loves this thing, and for good reason. It's a great setting/adventure, all in a gothic horror style. Though it has its issues, they are far outweighed by the positives. I have run this adventure once and played it 3-ish times, and each time, save for one that got kamikazed by autism, have been good fun. Also, Forget the Death House. The Death House sucks. I mean, it's a good adventure, but just make your PCs level 3 and skip it. It's got nothing to do with the rest of the module, and having run it once and played it once, that is more than enough for a lifetime. Moving on through, the actual adventure is so good. If you as the DM can keep a consistent mood at the table, there could be some great moments as you play. There are many great set pieces and strange locations to visit, and all the more great gothic monsters and events. I mean, come on, this adventure's been talked to death. As for the shortcomings, there are two major ones, aside from the Death House. One is internal logic, and one is DM based. The first, and heavy spoilers here, the players leading Irina across the map right past Strahd's castle. In the base module, you arrive and deliver her safely. Screw that. Ramp up tensions, have the players meet Strahd early and get trounced by him, without killing them, and have him successfully kidnap her. This early on introduces the main villain, introduces him as an actual threat, and gives the players a time limit. While in Tomb of Annihilation, I was lamenting such a thing, in Curse of Strahd, it is a good thing. The players might even go to his castle early, get got pretty swiftly. You want the players scared of him, but you want them to want to stop him. The second issue is Strahd himself and combat. Once again, spoilers coming up. If you are to run him against the PCs to the full extent of his capabilities, they should have no chance of escaping with their lives. He can go through the walls of his castle, has so many defenses, and could easily take them out one by one. The right location in the castle and the final fight is as good as done. But the opposite can so easily be true as well, allowing your PCs to gather all the items, and then Strahd just faces them one-on-one without being too careful with his moves. The party melee character will disintegrate him in 2 turns with ease. So you need to be very sure-handed when you run him. Don't go full hog and just kill all the PCs, but don't make the fight too easy on him. That is something you'll have to do moment by moment as the fight goes on. And this is the mark of an actually good DM. Otherwise, an incredible adventure rife with interesting creatures and characters, and such good mood and themes. This is another book with great art as well. If you're a DM, you should at least give this one a look. Still here. I'm done. That's the list. Yeah. Next one should be top 5 worst. Can't wait to see how that one turns out. After all those lists, I plan to hopefully get into greater dives of the modules in specific, and talk about running or playing them in specific parts. And then maybe after that, get into some non-D&D role-playing games, because God knows half the people who play D&D have never even glanced at another game, or let alone another edition. So yeah. Bye. You can go now. Please leave. I have to clean up.